Hi, this is Karen Elaine for Yasutomo. And in today's presentation, I'm going to show you how to use Asian art materials and Western art supplies in a combination or separately. Just kind of an overview of what Yasutomo offers for your school, for your classes. And most of the supplies that I use will be listed in a little subtitle below. So keep an eye on that. And if you have any questions about this, you're welcome to contact us. So let's get started.
Today I'm going to show you just the basics of Asian art materials, sumi inks, and I'm also going to talk about how you can use them in your watercolors and other more traditional art techniques. Most important thing about the sumi is the ink, of course. We have ink, some paper, and a brush. And I'm just going to go over Asian technique that's really fun to teach and learn. And the other one is mixing it with other supplies. So this is a rice paper. It's 9 by 12, 48 sheets a pack. It's pretty inexpensive. It can also be used as a watercolor paper. It can be used for collage, for book binding. It's wonderful paper, and it's pretty strong and durable. And 48 sheets goes a long way. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with something really fun and basic. And I want to cover the care and the feeding of these brushes. So most bamboo brushes, of course, have bamboo handles, and they don't like to be in water for very long because of the bamboo will expand and split, and also the glue will dissolve. So when you first get one, they have a lot of sizing. Of course, I took the sizing out of these, but they're very stiff and have a lot of starch, and you want to get those out, and you need to get them wet and just get all that starch out, and get the extra hairs out, because there will be some shedding, which is totally normal. And these brushes are really inexpensive and can be used for so many things, and if they are taken care of, they can last a long time. The more you use them, they seem to be better. They respond better. So these are the CA brushes and the CC brushes. Just the basics of the inks. So these inks, both carbon with no additives. There's really no ingredients in here that would be toxic in any way at all. This has actually got a convenient pouring spout, which is handy if you're going to be making different shades of black, which is very important in sumi painting, but also in just drawing and painting in general. You can create different shades just by adding more water to your ink. So I'm just going to do that. I'll add some water. It's good to dilute your inks for different shades. Now this is going to make a pretty wide, if I'm going to make bamboo, that's going to make a pretty wide bamboo stalk. So I'm going to move these things out of the way a little bit, and I'm going to start my painting from the bottom going up, just the growing part. So this is kind of a traditional way that these are used. You do not have to be traditional with these, but I'm just going to demonstrate really quick for you. So what you do is you want to dip the brush into the light color first. So even though this is a big brush, so I'm dipping, and I've got most of that into this very light gray. It's very pale. And then I'm just going to dip it into the medium. It's kind of a medium tone, halfway through the brush. It's just, I only want to just get it through the halfway point. And now I'm going to take it on the tip, and I'm just going to dip the tip in the full ink. So I'm just going to start from the bottom, and I'm going to have it kind of at a 45-degree angle, and start my stroke, and I'm going to pause it a little bit, pause, and go up. Pause it, because that creates that shape. It's just by the pausing of the brush. And I'm just going to do the same thing and then move my way. Now as the paint starts, or the ink runs out, I need to go slower. And so that gives those beautiful lines of like striae. It looks like it's three-dimensional now. And if you can see, the brush is kind of crooked, and that's okay. You kind of want it that way because it helps you to draw. So like I can make the little joints here. I can also make let's see, I could point it. Now if you want to just repoint it, go ahead, and you can just dip it in water or the ink. Just give it a point, and you can dip it in whatever color of shade of gray that you want, and you can make the stalk. So I'll go here, 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 And I'm going to use a smaller brush. This one. A little bit smaller. And it's got a little bit more sheep hair. There's some white hairs you can see. If you see those, that means they're just a little, they're probably a little more absorbent. It holds more water. Leaves are a little more difficult. I would probably want to practice this, but I'm just going to go ahead and just show you. I'll just try it. So, but there's my leaf. It's not the best shaped leaf because I'd probably use a different type of brush for that. One with a little more spring might be better. And all these brushes do have different kinds of spring. So there it is. I'm just gonna, there. So it's got a basic bamboo there. So what I love to do though is just kind of mix media stuff. So we have these oil pastels, very inexpensive oil pastels. Comes in we've got several different sets. This one's a 36-piece set. They're very inexpensive, and they're creamy, but they're not greasy, and they're not chalky, so they're not going to rub off. So you can use this in all kinds of ways. You can also create textures. If you have a texture plate or any kind of thing that you want to put underneath, you can create texture, and lots of, very concentrated, but it does, like I said, doesn't feel greasy when I'm working with it. I'm just going to make some not lines. I'm just creating texture, and I'm kind of going to do a batik kind of thing where I'm just playing with the colors. I'm not really worried about anything right at this point. I'm just creating texture and color. So let's say I got into this a little bit more, but I just want to just demonstrate what you can do. So got my ink or my brush, and I'm going to just take straight ink, and I'm just going to go right over it. All right, so there you'll see on the other side how it's very concentrated on the back. It did soak through, and that's quite okay. So just I can add more water. I can actually, this paper is so resilient that it's not even wrinkling that much, which is amazing. It's so resilient, you can really work it, and it's not going to damage the surface very much as long as you keep that wet. Because of the smooth surface on this side, there's not a lot of fibers to grab because it's very tightly pressed. So it's just wonderful stuff to do these kinds of things with. Now I'm going to let that dry, see what that looks like later, and I'll come back to it and maybe we'll do some collage with that. Now I'm going to show you something, mineral paper. This is another surface that is amazing to work with. It is made out of, it's not made out of paper. It's actually calcium carbonate and a little bit of recycled plastic. It is kind of translucent. You can trace over. You can see that underneath I have the ink underneath it's showing through. There's multi-uses for it. It's not only a great drawing paper, great painting paper, this also can be used as a palette. So, because it is not going to soak through. It's not like Yupo paper, it's not plastic, it is calcium carbonate. So just for fun, because I already have the oil pastels out, I'm going to show you some things. Kind of what we did before, except, I don't want to spend a lot of time drawing, but I just want you to see how the oil pastel, how it accepts the oil pastel. Very nice. And I'm able to blend, which is because it has a smoother, it's a different, more durable finish, so I'm actually able to blend really soft blended areas with my fingers, or you can use a blending tool. But you can see how beautiful you can blend with that, with the oil pastel. Black ink in it. But you can see it accepts watercolors beautifully. So if I want to do a sky wash or it's a very interesting surface for doing watercolor. It has like almost the kind of cross between the Yupo paper and regular paper. But it's really, I'll just make that wash, and I'll do something with that later. I'll go back to it. But I just want to show you that you can use this watercolor And this watercolor is it's got a lot of gum arabic in it, so it's not as pigmented as your expensive watercolors, but it's very versatile and it's inexpensive. That's what's nice about it. You get 18 colors with that one. I'm going to let that sit and I'll do something else with it. Another paint we have, I'm just going to show you. So these come 36 matte colors, and you get this beautiful array of colors, and they're way different than any paint I've ever used. Let me just show you real quick. I'll just get some more mineral paper out. Heck, mineral paper, you can even leave it on its pad because it doesn't soak through. You don't have to take it out of its pad. So you can just you can wet it ahead of time, which is the way I do it. I just spritz these. They go down really nice and smooth, and you can get like almost gouache-like effects. This actually is very pretty opaque, so you can get some nice blended, soft, and very opaque colors with this. And with the amount of colors you get, that's just pretty incredible. Look at that intense purple, how brilliant that is on that paper. And it dries to a very matte, kind of a more soft finish, and it will dry just a little bit lighter, of course. That first pink layer that dried is actually staying underneath in this mineral paper. This is kind of blending you could have a hard time doing with watercolors on watercolor paper. I wanted to share with you another fun thing you can do using our rice papers, the mineral paper, the sumi ink. So in this one, I'm just going to do a little blending until it's dry enough for me to use the paste. Nori paste is a starch-based paste. It comes in a little cute container like this for an individual size. What's great about it, it's non-toxic. You can use your hands to move it around. It doesn't, you can wash it off very easily. It's archival. It is a fabulous glue. What I like to do with it sometimes is mix it with PVA. You can mix it with gel mediums. This is a nice thing to have on hand because it does allow for slower drying times, and it's awesome with rice paper. So I'm just going to put some of this on the back of my rice paper, and I'm going to go ahead and just do it with my hands because, like I said, it doesn't hurt at all. It won't hurt your hands, and it won't hurt your papers. You won't even see it once it dries. The only thing that's coming up right now is some of the ink because I didn't let that dry. The black ink is kind of still wet. So I'm putting it on, and it has a very slow drying time. So what I like to do with rice paper, because rice paper will expand just like other fibrous papers, cotton and pulp papers. So I'm just going to let that kind of, and I can get it on the front too, won't hurt it. And if I were to put this on with regular glue on paper, it would probably, of course, it would tear and you'd just get what a mess, right? Sometimes it sticks more to you than it does to the paper. But in this one, I have time, and I can even move it around a little bit, however I want. I'm just going to put it right, I have an idea. I'm going to trim this down at a certain time. I'm just going to rub it out, going from the center out, because I want those fibers to really show, because they're going to stick to that mineral paper. And see, the mineral paper isn't wrinkling either. So just to show you, it's totally flat. You can see that it is flat, it's not going anywhere. So that, I've got that going. I'm going to let that sit. And then I'm going to come back after these kind of dry. I'm going to show you some things I'm going to do with all this stuff.